ideally, we want you to actually work on something for your own organization. The whole purpose here is to actually go through this and make it your session, right? Not just a snooze fest to learn theory and academics about the future of AI. We want to show you the future, how it is here today.
I'll introduce myself while Kenny's getting the screen set up. My name is Michael. I live in Atlanta. I drove in yesterday. I lead a small boutique agency. We work with faith-based organizations on technology. And obviously, we've seen a huge hey, look, it's working now. We've seen a huge shift over the last few years because it used to be people would come to us and want to spend all this time to build stuff. And now everybody's building stuff kind of on their own. Are you good?
Yeah, we're good.
You sure?
I think we are.
Okay.
So this afternoon, as you can tell, we are not here to do a formal sit and soak presentation. We hope that it's highly interactive. One of the things that I will say is, first of all, my name is Kenny Jahng. Some of the things that in my background, one piece is I was a church online pastor, and the difference between an online pastor and an offline pastor is the offline pastor gets really upset and depressed when they're giving a message and there are people talking in the audience. Church online pastor, they get really depressed when Sunday services come and the whole chat is dead and no one's talking in the service. And so
it's like permission to talk.
Yes, permission to talk. And I really hope that you have collaborative conversations with your neighbors here. I would even challenge you to get up and switch seats during the 3 hours to find some other partners and other conversation partners, because I think one of the things that vibe coding really is attuned to is when you are actually seeing how other people think about it, approach it, and do things that you might not have thought of, right? And so that's the purpose of today. And just to give a little bit of a setup, by the end of this, here's our promises, our marketing promises of today, that you're going to understand what vibe coding is. It is not just a place to go or a club or an alternate to a rave. Someone actually...
This crew really would do that.
Yeah, someone actually asked that at another conference I went to. We are going to teach you a specific framework for how to actually approach vibe coding. It's kind of like ChatGPT, Claude, and these generative AI chatbots, that if you understand how to talk to the machine, you're going to get better results, right? Prompt engineering is a bit of a thing. And so on the vibe coding aspect of it, having a basic framework of some steps to go through, I think is very helpful. We've been finding that as we've been working with audiences and groups. And so hopefully you have your laptop. If you actually have it in your hotel room or in your car or something, go off and get it, either during a break or at some point, make an escape. I'm bringing it back. We're going to actually give you some codes for Lovable. I think they previewed a little bit. We're going to go through, and hopefully everybody here is going to get free Lovable credits to actually experiment on this stuff. So for the budget-conscious church leaders and ministry leaders here, there's no excuse. The 5Q team has really pulled out all the stops to make it inexcusable to figure out how to actually... where did my slides go?
You're literally on Facebook while the workshop's going on.
It automatically came up for no reason. Where is my slides? Here we go. So we're going to go through a framework that I think has been helpful with other workshops and seminars that we've gone through. And then you're going to leave with something that's actionably working, that's live on the internet, published, that you can bring back to your teams, a little show and tell. If you want to be braggadocious, say that you went to NRB and actually got some work done, and have something that's productive. Someone actually recently told me that they felt like they were a magician when they showed it off to their team, because
that's our goal, to help everybody just feel smarter.
So those are the 4 things that we want to do with you today. And as Mike said, both of us are partners in a venture studio called Stackhouse Ventures, where we have a portfolio of companies, and we're building new ideas and getting them to the marketplace to help kingdom makers in an ecosystem that's collaborative in this innovation studio that we're building. So we are very, very conducive to relationships, new relationships. And these are our LinkedIns if you want to get
I'm wondering if you
connected.
tested this. Did you test this?
Yeah, that's my LinkedIn. That's Michael's MySpace page.
That's not MySpace.
And so you guys can get connected and chat with both of us. We'll
I
put that up
all my
later.
best songs on MySpace. My top
What
5.
we're going through today is a very compressed version of something that we've been doing across the country several times. We have a 2-day build-a-thon that we use as a format to start the conversation with non-technical ministry leaders, right? So hopefully in the promotions for this event, you've been told that the bar is low. You don't need to know PHP or React or Python or anything like that. You don't need any code to understand how to vibe code. So we go through a 2-day immersive experience, teaching the basics, and then coming out of it. So one example is Chad Williams, the principal at 5Q, actually started in our Kansas City events back in September, vibe coding the conference app. Is anyone using the conference app for this event here? Right, there's a web app. All of that was vibe coded and started in Kansas City during our 2-day vibe codathon. We're doing another one in Atlanta next month. You're all invited. We'd love to see you. We can talk to you afterwards about it. A lot of people send teams. It's a great collaborative off-site experience. So our time together is going to be fast and furious. What we're going to do is we're going to basically give you some shared language for what the heck this vibe coding thing is. We're going to walk through the vibe coding framework, so to give you some SOPs, standardized processes to actually approach talking to the chatbots and actually producing things. And then we're going to go into one of the most popular vibe coding tools called Lovable. And then we're going to give you the credits and give you all that information there. And then we're going to go through a guided session. And so hopefully at least one laptop on every table, there's someone willing to share with those that don't have laptops for older-the-shoulder experiences. But ideally, we want you to actually work on something for your own organization, whether it's a church, nonprofit, or a company, that you come out of here with something basic that you actually can practically utilize and use that as the teaching and learning device to understand and have that experience, right? And so we'll have a lot of Q&As, show and tells. The whole purpose here is to actually go through this and make it your session, right? Not just a snooze fest to learn theory and academics about the future of AI. We want to show you the future, how it is here today. Okay, so what is vibe coding, Michael?
It's simply, so how many of you have like development experience? Like the 8s and 9s? All right, so this is not what you do, right? This is for the rest of us. This is where you just simply talk to any number of tools, and Kenny mentioned we're going to use Lovable today. And if you can use ChatGPT, you can vibe code something. Now, we're not going to make anything complex today. We're not going to build anything that's overwhelmingly difficult. You're not going to probably replace all the software that your nonprofit or ministry uses today. But you are going to be able to get started, and that's what's amazing. I remember when the first time I did some of these things, like we were talking backstage, many of us had this story. We were like, I can't believe that I can finally do this, that I am not hostage to my developers anymore, because that's how I felt running faith-based organizations. I was like, I wanted to do something, and I needed, it was expensive, it was hard, I didn't understand all the words. Well, I know how to talk, and now I can at least get further down the road. So that's what we're going to do today. I like what you put at the bottom. Go back one. I like what you put at the bottom there. It's you're the director, and this is your production crew, right? So it's like you literally have all this stuff working behind the scenes to build or visualize what you can describe. And so the skill is really being able to describe what you want. Like, can you articulate what you want and what you like and what it should do and how it should work? So that's what we're going to work on today.
Just one of the biases I have learning, mentoring, and teaching leaders about AI in general. It comes up very quickly for us to realize who the leaders are that are horrible delegators and who are really good managers and delegators. And I think in this next chapter of business, of operations and leadership, we all need to double down on that skill set of managing, leading, and delegation very specifically. Because if you know how to delegate productively with an individual on your team, you're going to get to your results much faster. When you're in the cloud visionary and just very vague about things and you kind of know what you want but not really, then you get mediocre results, right? Generic vision gets generic results. And so delegation is a skill that I think you're going to see today, and we're going to have some tools to help us narrow that down, define the delegation to the chatbot along the way. So what is the difference between AI chatbots and vibe coding, right? So there's all this AI buzz out there. And in a nutshell, at the very highest level, AI chatbots are transactional. You ask a question, and then you get back answers, right? It started with text, right? With ChatGPT, the media darling of the industry in November 22. It started with as a large language model, right? Text in, text out. We are now in a multimodal universe where you can input audio, video, text, etc., and out comes multimedia as well. But it is still transactional, right? It's basically an assistant that you give one task, you don't trust them that much, you micromanage them, they go out, do it, and come back and report to you. Vibe coding is more of a functional tool that actually gets you further, right? It's a translator. So the idea is that if you are non-technical, but you have a direct report that is technical, a coder, they don't need to explain to you the actual coding problems or the loops that are happening or the syntax of the code or anything like that. You're going to just give them objectives. They're going to go off and manage that whole process, come back to you with something that's actually working. And so this is a completely different level of modality with the AI tools today, and I think it takes some time to getting used to it. The vibe coding platforms right now have a whole smattering of differences. Maybe, Michael, you can speak to some of the different ones.
Yeah,
that people
you know
might
how,
have heard of.
I mean, it's again, you start to talk to people and everybody has their preferences, right? And so, you know, I like going to Home Depot. Sometimes I just go to Home Depot and walk around to see like that I should be more like handy. But there's way too many kinds of hammers. Have you ever looked at how many hammers there are? Like there's probably construction people. There's a million kinds of hammers. And did you know this? That there's ounces, there's different ounces of hammers. There's like a 12-ounce hammer, a 14-ounce hammer. For the life of me, I can't figure out why you would need, anyway. But it's the same as true with many of these tools. When you pick a tool and you kind of start to get good at it, you start to feel how it works and you like it. So we're going to show you Lovable today. We've also built stuff in Bolt. Replit is another one. All three of those I think are pretty similar, and there's probably going to be a new one that launches today, like while we're in here. So there's a ton of them. And then as you go further on down the list, you start to get in ones that are more developer friendly. So you can start to get into like Cursor and Windsurf, and Claude Code will do all. And so there's a bunch of different tools. We're going to use one that I would consider to be very beginner. It's like the 12-ounce hammer, I think. I don't know what ounces it is, but that's it's a beginner one. So that's what we'll start with. But the principles that you learned today will kind of work throughout whichever one you end up choosing.
And then the other thing I think we have to say about the plethora of tools that are coming out in this category is we are currently witnessing an AI arms race in every single niche version of AI tools today. And so one benefit, the upside for the consumers, is that there's tremendous amount of product development in each of the software platforms, the competitive software platforms.
Everybody's trying to win.
They're trying to outdo each other, right? And so one of the benefits is that if a tool is a little bit wonky today, I was just on a live cohort and they were talking about how HeyGen, a video cloning tool, was a little bit wonky, but someone immediately chimed in that says, wait 6 months because that tool, undoubtedly, you can bet your mortgage on it that it will improve in the next couple months. All of these tools, even on this list right here, are within 3 to 6 months of each other. And that's how we're thinking about it, right? That one might be lagging right now. It doesn't mean you should abandon that to go and start working on the other. The best AI tool that you have is the one in front of you that you're familiar with.
Just get familiar with it.
And just keep on working with it, right? So right now, until everything shakes out, you have the advantage of investment across all of the competitive products out there. A lot of people get paralyzed at the very beginning to say, which one should we start on?
Yeah, that kind of doesn't matter.
Right? My friend told me that Bolt is better. My friend told me Base 44 is better. It's okay. So we're going to start with Lovable today. If you feel comfortable with that, we just encourage you to keep on going. There will be a point as you get more familiar with these tools that you're going to start to say, oh, now I understand why I might try something else and
14-ounce
see
hammer.
if there's something else, right? And so that's the whole premise here, where we want to reduce the intimidation and get you going as much as possible, right? Version 1 is better than version none. And this is hopefully the impetus for you guys to just open up your laptops and try something today. So the types of things that we can do. Michael, can you talk about the types of things that we can do?
Yeah, the thing that I like, so we'll start today with something simple. Like you could literally make a website in 10 minutes from your share today about a giving campaign that you have or something. But as you start to keep going more and more, the thing that I love about this is you can connect things that you actually use. So a while back, I bought a trailer, like a long trailer. And this trailer's just sitting there. And I'm like, I wonder if I could make a website. And I was using Replit. I wonder if I could make a rental website for this trailer. And so I went on there and, I don't know, 20 chats back and forth. I made a rental website that looks like really legit. I bought a domain. I put pictures on there. I connected in my calendar so it knows if I'm out of town and it doesn't try to rent the trailer when I'm out of town because I connected my Google Calendar. I set up Stripe payments. I didn't even mean to. I was just practicing. And then like a week later, somebody sent me an email because they found the site and wanted to rent the trailer. And I was like, oh, I guess I should either do this or take it down. But that's the thing, because you can connect all the things that you use.
You've had multiple rentals from that site.
Like literally there's a guy, I put an air tag on it so I can see where that trailer is. It's in Pennsylvania right now. And I'm like, oh, I don't need it. But like you can connect payments, you can connect tools that you use, you can connect Notion, like all the different tools that you use, you can start to connect and string things together. And that's when for me, that's when it got really interesting, because anyway, we'll talk more about that. But this is some of the different stuff you can build.
Yeah. So I think if you have to think about the premise of, hey, you can build anything out there, and then start to look at it as almost like a product ladder, right? So the simplistic things that we can build is simple websites, and then there's single purpose tools, like one piece of a workflow, then things like calculators or things that you can actually help your internal teams as well as external audiences for marketing to be interactive in doing things. Strategic things like dashboards, metrics, things that, the marketplace solutions just aren't the perfect fit. You're hacking software, and so you might as well create something that's very specific and contextualized for your team. And then you get to really more complex things that you can build, right? And so the actual progression is where all these things have applicability or relevance for vibe coding to come in. The difference in the levels, I would say, is what your end expectations are. So if it's a simple website, simple purpose tool, calculators, the lower fidelity things, those are the things that I think you can expect to publish to the real world and start to use. As you get more complex, that involve multiple external systems, data, all that kind of stuff, then you have to think of these things as a perfect way to prototype a really live thing that then becomes even more crisp to discuss with professional developers, right? So Michael has a development shop. Why don't you talk about just that last mile experience of how you would use a prototype?
Well, there's a few things, right? So like if you have a great idea for something, and maybe it's a big idea, right? You used to have to, draw it out on a piece of paper or get somebody to do Figma files for you, and you're trying to explain, and like words didn't do it, but you didn't want to invest all the money. So now you kind of get something that kind of works, and you can show it to stakeholders. That's what I love about it. You can actually show real stuff to real people and get feedback. You can hand them a phone or give them a website and say, look at this and try it. And like that stuff is within everyone's reach in this room. Like you can do that yourself. And then if it starts to get traction, once you validate it, once it proves to be viable, then you can decide, all right, let's do this for real. Let's put resources behind this. So I think this is a stewardship opportunity, right? To be able to figure out stuff. You don't need to like come down off the mountain, come down off the Nehemiah wall, or come down from the mountain or whatever, to like do this all day long. This can suck up your time as well. So I would suggest doing this like when you don't have anything else important to do, because you'll spend 3 days and your wife will wonder where you are. That's like a personal story. And I wasn't at Home Depot. So it was like, what's happening? And so you can build things to prototype. You can build things to communicate, to test. And then when you need to get other people in to fix it or do it right or redo it, like you're so far ahead. And now what you want is not going to get lost in translation. Does that make sense? Like, it's almost like you don't have to be the art. This is insulting to artists, but you don't have to be the artist to make V1 of the art. You can make V1 of the art and show it to somebody else, and then they can come and go, all right, now let me do that for real now.
There are some people that have experience in vibe coding. Are there any people that have done this in an organization where you've gone to the prototype stage and then involved developers and to come into the process? Is there anyone that might be able to stand up and speak to that? I see James has done it. Maybe James Poulter, can you speak to it just briefly, your experience? I know James, so I'm just going to hug him while he talks.
That's fine. I'm just going to take this off Kenny.
This makes me uncomfortable.
This makes me feel very comfortable. Ask your question again.
How has the experience been taking vibe-coded things to a prototype stage and then handing it off to a developer to actually, to get it to full production?
Yeah. So I'd say one of our experiences, particularly in the agency context, is when you've got developers who are used to building things the quote-unquote traditional way. Some of them are going to be already trying to do this. They're already experimenting with code, but they're going to be worried that you've built something that's insecure, that is not production ready, that is not going to get you to where they want to go to. So one of the big things, I think we talked about this morning, is setting out guardrails to tell them, I'm not trying to do your job for you. I'm trying to show you what I want you to make for me, and then them. It comes back to most of us, have handed over a bad PowerPoint deck or a bad, kind of written brief. It's much easier to point at a thing on screen and say, this is the type of thing I'm trying to get to. Yeah. And this is why this is such a powerful thing to learn how to do, because to your point of version 1 of the art, trying to describe a sketch of Snoopy to someone is hard, but actually doing a really bad sketch of Snoopy and hand that to them, at least they know what you're trying to get to. So that's been our experience. And then when handing this stuff over is then being able to work much more speedily with a developer, even to the point where you might be able to sit next to them in the room while they code it at the same time, which is a big difference.
Thanks, James.
That's like a bonus session right there. I like that.
What we're going to do is we're going to go through a rapid carousel, a little sideshow, penny tour of some vibe-coded apps so that you get a sense of what you can do with this, right? So this is not an exhaustive list. We have tons and tons of examples of things that we've produced on our own for clients and that other peer organizations have built in the wild. But we just want to share just the spectrum of the things that you can do. So for example, the first one I want to show is what I call pizza with the pastor. So at my local church, right, periodically, I don't know if it's every month or every other month, they have something after church for new visitors to come and meet the pastors on staff. It's a low stakes event, right, to do something. They don't have anything that actually is external for that. You kind of need to know about it in order to sign up for it, which kind of defeats the purpose in my eyes.
That's not how pizza should be.
And so what I did was I just put this into Lovable, and within a couple of chats, did not spend more than 15 minutes on this. This is the page that we created. I did not write any of this copy. I did not find any of the photos or the icons or anything like that.
There's no photos.
Well, there's a photo up there.
Oh, okay, there's one photo.
It created a form that then gets sent to info at the secretary and the admin at the church, and it keeps a running list. And then in the back end, now there's a thank you email and a follow-up as a reminder for when the pastor with the pizza with the pastor event comes, right? So this is just a very, very low-hanging fruit thing that you can create brand-centric things, right, that you need to do in a jiffy, basically, that you don't need to involve your web team, you don't need to involve your dev team, your webmaster, or anything like that, that you can now spin up on your own in the actual meeting. Like if you had a meeting in the conference room and say, we should have a landing page for that. You could literally create that thing while you're sitting there before you leave the meeting. So that's the first example. Another example is,
I'll say where you're pulling that up too on all these websites. Again, there's a simple version. You can keep messing with it and get that website to look really good. You know what I mean? Like you could put your brand, you could put colors, you can do all kinds of stuff and get it to look really good.
Why don't you share about this one?
This is a project that Kenny and I have together. This is an email opt-in form. And the magic of this website is it's a basic website. Like there's nothing fancy on it. We have ministries and partners basically pool their free resources together. So, right, we get 6 or 7 organizations to put their free resources together, and we put them on one bundle, and then we run paid media and traffic for it. People download it, and we kind of share those leads with those ministries. So what's happening here on this website, simple opt-in form, but behind the scenes, a bunch of that email, that data is going a bunch of different places and doing a bunch of different things. And so this is a simple website that just kind of describes it. That form is a form called Tally that integrates, and all that data goes in there, and it goes into multiple places. It goes into a Google Sheet, and then when that Google Sheet gets shared with the client, right? So a bunch of stuff that's happened instantly, where this used to be a little bit complicated. This was never advanced, but this was a little bit complicated, and we would always need to get people to help us. But now we can just do it much quicker. Did you just download that?
Yeah. Okay, and the next one is simple tools.
I'm going to unsubscribe you.
So there's some organizations that I work with who tend to discount or not understand the value of continuously marketing and building their email list, right? So we're consulting and coaching them. And in order to do that, I kept on trying to impress them on the fact that you need to actually continue to build resources to get people to opt in, get their emails and nurture them right to the conversion. Didn't really understand that. So I built a funnel calculator. And so this basically goes through these assumptions and then shares with the leader, once they plug in their data, how big of an email list they need, or how many emails do they realistically need to send based on their own list size, average open rate, average click-through rate, average conversion rate. We'll plug that in, which is just very easy to do here. And then it will tell you how many emails you need to send or what profitability you should expect. And most of the times, this thing exposes to the leader the thing that I've been trying to impress on them in conversations, but this makes it really plain and simple, black and white, that shows them, wow, we really need to, if you know marketing, top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, you really need to invest way more in top of the funnel marketing. You need to get in front of more people and capture more conversations, right? And so this is just one thing that we were able to build, and then now we're trying to deploy this on a public space because we realized that many nonprofit leaders could benefit from this in their own marketing teams to figure out how many emails they actually need to actually send for any given campaign, right? So This type of calculator is something that is it's in the sweet spot of vibe coding at this point.
And probably in your sphere, that's a hard word for me to say, there's probably a use where like a calculator or a quiz or something like that would work. It would help people understand something. This is another tool that we built. This is kind of ugly because you're logged in. Log back out. It's called When Can We? Kenny and I we're part of a mastermind group that has like 10 people. And you always have those group texts that go back and forth, like, can y'all meet May 21st through 23rd? No, I can only come in on the 22nd through the 24th. Well, my flight doesn't get you right. It's just crazy. And I was looking for a tool that would coordinate multiple days. There were many tools that would do individual meetings, like this hour or this day, but I need multiple days because I don't care if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but we need 3 days. And I couldn't find one. I'm sure there is one, but my Google searching was not helpful. So we just made it. And so it lets people vote on the best 3 days, and then it tallies it all up, and it says this one's the winner, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, Kenny can't be there. But then we could do it anyway because so it's simple tools. So the point of this is like a simple tool. Like you want to build a tool that does one thing really well. I built one for my kids are in college. I built one that takes all their school syllabuses and makes one syllabus, right? Because who wants to keep track of all these documents? And there's like 90 things that they have to log into. So it brings all the stuff, simple tools that just do one thing well. You can build those. Like you could build one of those today.
Okay. Do we want to show the dashboard or the prototype next?
The dashboard is boring. The prototype is good. This was an example of a tool. We had somebody come and they said, we want to build a tool that connects pastors or they called them guides to like mentors and mentees, but not for a long relationship, just for one call. We're like, that sounds like a That sounds like a good idea. Like, what's the use case? Well, like, I'm a ministry and we're trying to do this, the XYZ, and I just want to talk to somebody for an hour that has done exactly XYZ. I don't want to go through the John Maxwell 12-month coaching leadership development program. I just want to, I know I can ask ChatGPT, and I'm sure John Maxwell could help, but I just want to talk to somebody who's done this exact thing. So we built a prototype. This was not Lovable. This was a different tool. Built a prototype and went back to them and said, is this what you want? They're like, that's exactly it. And then we were able to hand that, to what JP was saying, we were able to hand that off and just then build it for real. So this was a prototype. Works great for that. Vibe coding works great for that.
It works on a small scale. As you can see here, there's a database that's integrated. And so the user can choose tags. When you list yourself as a mentor, as a consultant, you can actually list all the tags of categories of things, the expertise that you are in. And so that goes into your profile in the database, and then it can sort and filter by all these things. And so that type of thing used to be really complex. You have to set up a database, you'd have to do all that kind of stuff. Today, you don't have to do it. One click, the database is set up on the back end. If you have any technical expertise, you understand just how much of an advancement that is for the non-technical leader.
And this is an example, too, where I think we wanted to get out of vibe coding just the prototype, because this was going to have multiple people's payments. This was going to have lots of people's data. This was going to have calendars. This was going to have all this stuff. So, like, me personally, would feel uncomfortable launching that out into the public through a vibe situation. But still, I could prototype it. I can show you exactly what it's going to look like. And then we have smart people come in and make sure it's secure and it's safe and all that. Yeah. You can do the first part.
Maybe you should log into this one.
Okay, this is the latest thing that we've built. Some of you may need this in your organization, and I'll give it to you if you want it. Alignify is a tool to help people, teams, track their goals, right? It's very boring. Goals are very boring. No one likes to talk about goals. But they're one of the most critical things in organizations. And so this landing page was built in Lovable. And this prototype tool, there's a picture of the dashboard. And what it does is it allows teams to put their goals in one place. So we teach in this tool that every organization needs 3 clear goals. They should be visible to everyone, and they should be reviewed every week. It's simple. You could do this in a spreadsheet. But we could actually get a little more sophisticated if we did it better. And so we did it a little bit better. And so now teams can go in there and they can put in their goals. If they don't know how to write the goal, there's a little AI button, and it uses a framework that we created to make the goal better, and they could override it if they want. But it tracks it, and then people, the team members, it takes 60 seconds, and they don't even need to log in. They can do it from Slack. They can go and go, my 3 goals are on track, and blah, blah, blah. And then it all rolls up, so the leader gets to see what the team is doing. The team gets to see what everybody else is doing. And it keeps the main things in front of people all the time. And so this entire tool was prototyped. And this one, because we spent more time on it, actually has beta users using it right now. Teams are using it right now. And it's working really well. I mean, we pushed kind of vibe coding to the limit on this one, I think.
Yeah, and so this is an example of something that it is going to production. We have a formal launch plan in place. We are going to hire an actual team to actually build the market for this. So this is something that's an actual business enterprise in our venture studio. We actually have businesses that we invest in, but this is one that's homegrown, and that this is on, it's going to be 6 figures in revenue the first year, going on beyond that, and it started in one of our vibe coding little hackathons, build-a-thons that we did a year and a half ago. Right? And so it started with an idea that meetings stink, that leaders are always upset that their direct reports are not on track. The direct reports don't have clarity on what the boss wants, and there's always this tension. How do we puncture that with clarity, right? Clarity is kindness. And we interviewed a lot of people, found out it was the weekly team meeting. We identified the problem in their weekly workflow, and then we built a custom tool to actually do that kind of thing. So this is an example of the best case scenario, right? Like, instead of doing something that's very specific, like there's an app for that, this is something that's a full production that actually can be deployed to thousands of users and thousands of teams out there, right? So does that make sense? Okay. Before we dive into the actual thing, there's a lot of people that have asked, okay, what do we do with vibe coding? When we go back to your office, How do we not just let everyone spawn their own little vibe coding thing and it's like a free-for-all? One of the things we do recommend is that from a policy standpoint, from a strategic leadership standpoint, that you start to look at innovation. I think every single organization, just like every organization has a CFO, maybe a CIO, CMO, you're going to start to look at innovation now. In the next 24 to 36 months, that's going to become standard. And so the office of the CIO, in terms of innovation, needs to start to think about how do we actually assimilate that. Instead of doing these rogue sprints and innovation teams off to the side, can we start to institutionalize that and take advantage of vibe coding across the entire organization with all departments? So one model, just to be very practical for nonprofit and even companies, is this 12-month cycle that we're looking at. We're doing this with an organization right now actively, where we look at in quarterly cycles. And so in a given quarter, so like this Q2, right? What we're doing is in the first month of the quarter, we'll go in and we'll actually have an in-person strategy meeting with the team, with the executive leadership team. And we think quarterly is the right cadence because so much is changing in the landscape, right? That by the next 3 months, things have changed. You have new information of capabilities of things that you can do. And so on a quarterly basis, we sit down with the executive team, we strategize what are the key opportunities, and identify something that might be completely maybe internally disruptive to your own work processes, workflows, and your actual model of what you're doing, right? And out of that might become a scoping project for a larger development project that's not just vibe coding, but something that's seriously implemented for your entire business model. At the same time, we'll then do since we're on site, we'll do a staff workshop. We think that an upskilling opportunity for your teams is something that everyone should do. You should get everyone in the same room. It's almost like this, right? In this room, there's a wide spectrum of capabilities of AI fluency. However, there's value in getting everyone in the same room and introducing a new tool, a new workflow process, some examples, et cetera. Upskilling everybody is for your good, right? So that is something that we do on that practical basis. And then this month 2 and month 3, we will then go and actually scope out a small sprint to vibe code and actually build a resource or tool, kind of like the smattering of stuff that we just showed you. We'll identify small projects that can be done in a 30-day window and deployed that will improve basically the quality of life for any given staff, department, et cetera, so that they can actually do more, have better strategic insight, do things that are deeper. So one small example of a tool, Michael, why don't you talk about the calendar and Slack thing for
Oh, yeah. So this particular organization, they have a lot of sales calls. Does anybody here have sales calls? Like one sales call? No one has sales calls?
Yeah,
Okay. Right? You know how you research the people that you're going to have a call with? Like if you're a good salesperson, anyway, you don't show up to the meeting and go, okay, what are we talking about? So you research that. So this particular organization had multiple people on sales calls all the time. And I asked them, how do you research people? And they told me what they did. And I was like, what if you could automate all of that? And so we built a very simple thing. I mean, this is more of a workflow than a vibe code thing, but this is stuff you could do. And again, you could do this today. It may not work exactly right, but it'll work better than you can get it better. And so now on my calendar, and we built that, is whenever I have calls with external people, my tool goes out and looks at my Google Calendar, and it says, it looks like you have a meeting with an external person. So not my company domain, but like another domain. So it would say, with World Vision. And it'll see that, and then it'll research a whole bunch of stuff about that person, and it's like 6 or 7 prompts that are strung together on the back end. It researches their LinkedIn, it researches the company, it looks for open jobs that they have, it looks for advertising campaigns they may be running. It goes and does all this stuff. It runs it through another prompt that simplifies it all, and it sends me a Slack message in the morning with all the research of all the people I'm meeting with today that I don't know. Now, I could do all of that. You could do all of that. If nothing is like top secret, this is all information. But the fact that that's just there for me at 6 a.m. every morning in the Slack channel, it saves time. And it saved this organization. They're like, this will save hours of people's work. And it lets people be better on the call. I mean, it's a little bit freaky actually, because sometimes it's like this person just got back from a trip and they had a really nice steak dinner. And I'm like, I don't think I should bring that up because that will look a little too much. So, but you can dial that in to be exactly what you want and need. And that's an example of like where you can connect some of these things together and really be more efficient.
The other reason why we advise that you actually use vibe coding internally in this sprint model is because there are people, again, across the spectrum of AI fluency. There are people that are still fearful of AI, people who are uneducated and don't understand what AI is about. They just think binary. It's all AI or it's nothing. They don't know what it is. And then there are people that you need to just continue to feed them growth so that they can take the baton and run with it. And so being able to create small vibe-coded prototypes and real production things, right? It's a small single use case tool and resource and have a rhythm of doing that on a regular basis sets the culture and tone beyond just that vibe coding exercise. It starts to open up new out-of-the-box thinking for everything that you're doing. We've already heard reports of employees just rethinking things instead of doing hey, we've done it this way for 20 years.
Should try this.
Yeah, so it starts to really open up the creativity in the business strategy sense of things.
If anything, I would say, like I know a lot of times we get together in rooms like this and it's like, wow, think big, think big, think big. I think my message would actually be the opposite of just think small. What is one small thing that if you could solve it quickly and cheaply and just try it, and it doesn't, I don't want you to take this wrong. It almost doesn't matter if it works because you're learning and you're growing and you're trying things. And you will be proud of what you build and you share it with a few other people and they'll go, well, this may help me too. And that to me is how innovation in organizations actually works. Not a bunch of high concepts, theory, what's the world going to be like in 20 years? Nobody knows. But you could actually move a small thing forward very quickly and it would be energizing.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into the practical. We're going to roll up our sleeves now. Yeah, we're going to roll up our sleeves and go into the vibe. And open up your laptops and do the actual keyboard stuff. But before we do that, let's pause. What questions do you have? What things do you have in your mind right now? Let's make this collaborative and conversive. Nathan's going to run around.
Let's see how fast he can run. Are you fast? Chased. Okay. Questions?
Any questions?
Ideas that you have, like something that maybe you wish you could build. Could we build a...
Someone said landing page. Who said that?
Landing page for what?
Come over here.
No, we got Nathan. He'll go there. Make him run.
My wife. Hello.
It's really nervous. He just handed the microphone. He didn't even hold it. He handed it.
He knows I know what to do with it.
Yeah, yes. He's like, you talk.
My wife and I have a small ministry to mostly kids at this point, but it's primarily around a podcast.
Okay.
And we need a landing page, someplace to give us some legitimacy as we actually exist and can do something.
Well, you're going to have that in the next hour.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's a great use case.
And
I think for everybody else, I want you to start to think about what can you build with us in the next hour and a half, right? So what are those types of things? That's a perfect use case of that. You're not a web developer. You're not a graphic designer. How do you do something that's professional? Like you said, you want to look legit, right? And so that's the objective. We're going to make you look legit by the end of the day. Any other questions?
Yeah, we're a church. We want to have a custom web app that integrates with our planning center registrations and those kinds of things automatically without paying multiple thousands of dollars a year for somebody to host it for us while we do all the work.
Yeah, so that's a great concept. I don't know if we're going to be able to get all of that done today. However,
he takes the easy way out. You see,
one of those things I will give you. This past year, I think in the last 365 days, this is my 24th speaking engagement, and a lot of times we'll do live coding in front of people. And so for some church conferences, one of them we created in an hour and a half a kids check-in app. Like when you go to church, you check in your kids, you get the sticker and attendance and all that kind of stuff. We built an entire kids check-in app in under an hour and a half. During the thing, people were volunteers like, hey, some kids have allergies. It needs to be coded. And so it added that. It added the emergency telephone number. Can you output to labels of the label printer? Yes. So we kept on building and building. And yes, the answer is you can
do
do
that.
things like that.
It'll take more prompts and more time, but you could absolutely get to
Yes.
that.
Who else? Anybody else?
Other ideas or questions?
In the back. I see a
These are some
heckler in the
bright
back.
lights. These lights are very bright. I need sunglasses.
Not really a question, but the enforcement training, new startup training business. They gave me their business plan, and I fed it into Lovable. And in 10 minutes, I had a website. I gave it to them, and they were like,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in the Vibe thing because I'm going to teach all the VIBE stuff because the very weak way to do it is just type in make me a website that does blah, blah, blah. But just like with all AI chats, the more context you can give it, including documents and all kinds of stuff, the better it'll get.
In fact, related to that, from one of the past conferences, I've had someone who's been to one of my talks and then has come again the next year and said, you know what I did? I started a business building websites for nonprofits and ministries. All I did was I downloaded all their annual reports, their vision. On YouTube. They found some talks by the founders and their current website.
And they're ripping people off by just vibe coding.
And then with vibe coding, they actually produced professional versions of the site, showed it to the organization, and they're buying them.
Yeah.
And so this is reality.
If you're a nonprofit, your annual report could absolutely be an app. There's no reason for it to be a plain old boring PDF anymore.
Yeah. Any other last questions out there, Nathan? Up here?
Right here.
We got a customer up here.
He is very slow, Nathan is. I've noticed that.
I'm looking for help, AI help that would be more of in the workflow arena, that would help with eliminate or reduce busy work within Microsoft Word files.
He's get all the keywords right there. Busy work, Microsoft, all the things.
Yeah. I think that's one of those
Yes.
things that we have to identify very specific things. So if you can articulate what the actual problem you're trying to solve, and then if you can map it out on an analog matter in terms of workflow, then you probably can then start to use AI to do those things for you, right? So for example, right now, I'm using AI tools, and this isn't in a vibe-coded app, so pre-vibe coding, what I'm doing is I'm creating the manual workflow myself. And so if you follow me on Instagram, I've been doing carousels because carousels is the thing that the algorithm loves on Instagram. And so I'm now reaching over 100,000 people per carousel that I send out, right? And so now I've built a flow manually that allows me to take a topic, it does the research, it puts it through psychographic hooks, it stress tests it, it writes the actual carousel, then it actually has feedback and critique, revises it, and then gives me a full carousel design brief. And then I put it into another tool to actually design it, and then I'm posting it, right? So if you go on my Instagram right now, there's a bunch of stuff around Easter that's just going pretty much viral, like thousands of shares and all that kind of stuff. So I've tested it, right? I've created what we call an MVP, minimum viable product, in an analog way. I
I thought it was most valuable player.
I've actually created that workflow. Now what I'm going to do is put it into a vibe coding framework and then build an automation system that basically takes a form, goes through the process, asks for different selectors, like choose your own adventure, and then outputs the actual post as well as the content, and then it's going to post it, right?
All right, let's get people building some stuff.
Okay.
All right, so I need everybody to come up with an idea.